Greetings and welcome back to another episode of the Daily Run, and today we're playing as Apollyon. Again, so a second Apollyon daily in a row, while also going to Mom's Foot. So this is kinda like the second chance for yesterday, because I feel like I really didn't perform that well, but then again, it's a Mom's Foot daily, so there's really no way of knowing how you're gonna do it in the end scheme of things. But I feel like this particular run does showcase one big problem the dailies have, and I would imagine that if you're a fan of dailies, if you watch these videos, you kinda know what they are, but I think not a lot of you know how extremely dumb it can get, and just how extreme those differences and changes can be, and I feel like this is the perfect run to actually showcase that. But of course, when we get to that, I'll point it out, but for now, let's just focus on the strategy. So the first thing that we actually picked up is the Ankh, and I feel like that already is a bit of a questionable decision, because I imagine a lot of people imagine this item to be very bad, because you have to die to actually respawn as Blue Baby, and the only thing that you get out of it is basically that you get another additional 3 Spirit Hearts. Blue Baby doesn't have any other things going for him. You don't get more stats, you don't get flight, you don't get basically any benefits that you get via other respawn items. It's just an item that respawns you as Blue Baby, and that's pretty much it. So in most cases, you just wouldn't bother picking it up, because it's just item penalty, and you're really not looking forward to actually trigger it and actually respawn as a character that can only have Spirit Hearts. Maybe there are some niche case scenarios, like maybe using Plan C to kill off the Hush, and then respawn and still actually have another life, but those are very far and few between. But in this particular case, obviously we have the Void, so it's just better to suck it up and hope maybe for a good stat upgrade. And I didn't go that route, and the main reason for that is I want to find the Sacrifice Room as early as possible. And having 2 additional Spirit Hearts might not seem that big, but it can actually be the difference between how we win a run and how we lose one. And not win in the sense that we get to the end, but win in the sense, can we sacrifice enough, do we have enough health to sacrifice to the Sacrifice Room to actually be able to get to the Dark Room. And I feel like those 3 Spirit Hearts will be of immense help. And obviously I did kind of go for that decision early on, but then I didn't pick up Placenta for that very same reason, which might seem a bit counterintuitive, but in essence, I didn't really plan on it on the very first floor to kind of go this route. I only started thinking about this strategy after we picked up the 3 Black Hearts that were, I think, in the second floor, and that just kind of gave me an idea that maybe if I do have the Ankh and I have enough health, having 3 additional Spirit Hearts as opposed to just 1 that you get by Placenta is going to be much more worth it, and I decided to maybe suck up Placenta for stat upgrades and then pick up the Ankh for this potential Sacrifice Room. And that's exactly what happens. I've also sucked up Yam Heart at some point, which means that I have now 2 battery charges on the ground, so 1 in the active item, 1 on the one on just some random room, and I can use that to heal up twice, which means I have 2 additional plays of the Sacrifice Room spikes. And it might be early, or at least you might be saying, isn't it a bit early to actually teleport to the Dark Room, because this is only the 4th floor, and you can see that I'm actually not that behind. I can still get to Boss Rush very easily, and I can beat Boss Rush and actually get a pretty decent score that way. Well, you might think that that is the case, but of course there's always a chance of us just missing Boss Rush, there's always a chance of us maybe not being strong enough to deal with Boss Rush and just taking a lot of damage that way, and of course there's no guarantee that we're gonna get something like a teleport card to get out of Boss Rush and do the rest of the exploration bonus. But you can see that as soon as I actually use that Sacrifice Room, because like I said, I did pick up the Ankh, which wasn't really, incidentally, it wasn't even that very helpful here, but because we only have 4 items at this point, we're not really ready for the Dark Room, and the point of this is not to try to win the Dark Room, even though I tried to actually get through it. The only point here is for the stage bonus. You get here, you get an additional 20,000 points just right out of the bat, and because this run does only go to Mom's Foot, and because our exploration is very low, our damage penalty is not that high. We actually get hit something like 30 times in total on this run, but that still only accrues to something like 2 or 3,000 damage penalty, which is not a lot when you consider it with just how much stage bonus you're getting for getting this far. Of course, it doesn't mean that you can't try, but if you were just a suicide, you would still be ahead of the majority of the population who actually play these dailies, and I feel like this is the ridiculous part that really comes in. So we have 4 items. We made one decision by picking up the Ankh early on, which was really not that consequential, because we could have still used the Sacrifice Room in any other case. And of course, we decided to go just for the first Sacrifice Room that seemed kind of to make sense when we had enough health. We went to the Dark Room, and suddenly we're now in a very good spot, at least points-wise. Because even if you do get to Boss Rush, even if you beat it, there's no guarantee that you're gonna get over 20,000 points, which is usually, like, I would say, the golden standard for how much you're shooting for when you do go the Boss Rush route. Obviously, if there is another Sacrifice Room on another floor, or maybe if you find a teleport card, in that case it's more worth it. But just on the basis, this is so much easier to do. This is just a much more surefire way of getting a lot of points. And just try to guess before I tell you which rank I am on the Gridbot leaderboards after I die on this very room. You think it's something like 50th? No, it's actually 6th. And it's kind of ridiculous when you think about it. We're 6th on this daily just because we went to the dark room as soon as it actually paid off. There was no strategy, there's no good play in this one. It's just knowing that you can actually do this. And in some dailies it actually turns out to be the best choice. Obviously in some dailies you maybe find the shovel on another floor and that allows you to get much more points that way. But in this particular one, just because of how bad it was, I saw that we didn't have any money, we didn't have consumables, so it did seem like the right play or the right strategy to go here. And look at that item penalty, 18, because we only had 4 items. So it's kind of ridiculous in that sense, and I guess it does showcase just maybe how broken the daily system can be. But I feel like ultimately it's just about showing you that this is another strategy that you can utilize in your game, especially Mom's Foot dailies. And if you don't like playing them, maybe just try to do something like this, because it doesn't take a lot of effort. It's pretty much guaranteed that you're going to get a good score at the end, and I do imagine that the more people who actually play these dailies and figure this out, the more advantage, or at least the more diluted this will be. So if you're gonna get in on this and actually will abuse it in the sense, in quotation marks, to get a better score, I feel like this is the time to do it. Just kind of take notes from this video and go forward from there. So if you did, I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope to see you next time.